And so then, it was one of those things that agency that he owns, that his mother used to own, called Continental Agency, that feature dance agency. I was with them at that time. And I really wanted to, move up the ladder. And I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it was just extra work for them. They weren't really into managing girls' careers. They were just into getting them bookings. But I really wanted to get to some photographers, and they weren't helping me. And I remember like throwing some threat. If you don't help me, I'll do it myself. I'll just go to New York and figure it out. And they're like, okay, girl, let us make a call or two. And I ended up shooting with Warren Tang in New York. I don't even know if he's still around or not anymore. And he ended up connecting me with a couple of I ended up doing like 8 magazine covers that week that we shot. So it was my first time ever shooting, and I got like the cover of D-Cup magazine, Cherry magazine, High Society magazine, Leg Show, Leg Action, and that really started my like magazine career. And they had invited me, Cherry and High Society magazine had invited me to go to Jamaica for their spring break edition. And so I said yes, and I ended up having as my roommate Jenna Jamerson. And at that point, Jenna Jamerson was right at the beginning of her climax of her career. It hadn't hit the pinnacle yet. It was just but she was very well known. And so, I had been trying to find out how to get into porn. I had done the Robin Bird show, and I'd asked people on the Robin Bird show, how do I get into porn? And nobody kind of really had, pushed me in the right direction. And then Jenna was like, yeah, you should just move in with me. And I'm like, yeah, I should, exactly. And it was so funny because at that time, I was taking care of my mom. A lot of people in the business that's known me for a long time knew my mom as well.
And your mom always knew what you did and always respected you.
Yes, my mom was, my mom was hilarious. One of my favorite stories about my mom was, I had this 5,000 square foot studio downtown LA. That I used to rent out for photo and film. And so I'd have these big soirees there. I'd have it curated by various different, artists. And I'd have DJs, a bartender, go-go dancers. And, and of course I had a dungeon, because don't all porn stars have dungeons downstairs in the basement? And I would just be
They didn't, but you did.
I did, exactly. And, I just would be double fisting somebody. And my mom would be upstairs, and my mom would be like upstairs like, I'm so proud of my daughter, And they're like, do you know what your daughter is doing down there? Oh, I don't care.
She was very supportive.
She was.
The only mom that I knew who knew what her daughter was doing at that point.
Yeah. And you know what? And I think that her being, obviously she probably would have preferred for me to be doing something different. But I think that she saw I was happy and I was good at it and I was a professional and I was succeeding. I treated it like a business and I wasn't being harmed or hurt by it. And I was really, truly happy.
And you were creating your own content before we knew that we needed to have content.
I knew. I really was ahead of the game there, I'm telling you. And yeah, I think the biggest thing, though, for her is that she truly saw that I shined and I was happy. And that's, what most parents want for you. And she knew that I was a woman of my own right and she wasn't going to change anything. But I think that had such a big played such a big factor in my success in life, is having that support. Was really grounding. So if you have got children and you're watching now, you might not like what they do, but please be supportive because it'll last throughout their entire lives of them being mentally, stable and healthy and succeeding. But anyways, moving along, going back, we went forward, now we're going to go back to Jamaica. So at that time, I was taking care of my mom, and as my mom had polio, and she had post-polio, and so I helped her out. And so we were planning on moving to Hollywood, Florida. And I called up my mom from Jamaica, and I go, Mom, we're moving to Hollywood. And she goes, yes, I know, dear. I go, California, what? So I moved to LA first. And
do you remember what year?
I think it was 1995.
Okay.
So I moved to LA first, and I lived with Jenna Jamerson, Nikki Tyler, and her boyfriend at the time. And well, actually, I originally moved in with Bud Lee. Well, not with Bud Lee, but I moved into his apartment because he had just married Asia Carrera. Yep. Time going on between Asia Carrera, Bud Lee, and Jenna Jamerson. And at that time, I also didn't know that Asia Carrera was like super shy. So I just thought that she like completely hated me. And I felt really uncomfortable staying in his place. And so then I moved in with Jenna and Nikki and that whole crew. And I did my first film with Vivid. And then my first year, I only worked with Vivid.